Almost precisely 10 years ago, or to be exact, 9 years and 360 days ago, if you're watching this upload the day it goes live, I uploaded a video simply called KSP Building a Space Station, and this remains by far my most popular video I've ever uploaded. I guess uploading during the KSP Golden Age really helped boost its popularity, but with the recent resurgence of KSP player counts thanks to Artemis II, I thought it would be fun to make another space station video that better reflects the current state of KSP, with all the massive advancements that have been made, not just with official dev updates to the game itself, but also with the insane leaps in parts and graphics mods. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's video, which was sponsored by Incogni, more on them shortly. I wanted to have the first launch of the space station be a space shuttle mission built using Ben G10's amazing space shuttle mod. You guys gave me loads of pointers and advice on how to use this mod correctly compared to when I first showcased it a few weeks ago, so let's jump into the shuttle build itself. The commentary for this will be live, but don't worry, the rest of this build and the subsequent builds will all be the usual time-lapse. Orbiter mod pack, as you can see there's the cockpit there, but you can see I've got lots and lots and lots of mods installed, so it's going to be hard finding the specific mod pack pieces we need, but I've got the mod Janitor's Closet installed here, and if I find Ben G10 shuttle orbiter, there we go. Now it's only showing us the Ben G10 shuttle orbiter parts. Now I've showcased this mod before, and some people pointed out that some of the pieces for this mod are actually buried in another tab called Ben G10 Shared Assets, which contains, if I just pop the rear of the fuselage on, it contains the orbital maneuvering engines. There we are. So thank you everyone that commented. I'm actually going to delete this because the first thing we need to do is add the external fuel tank and build it that way. So I'm going to use the redirect mod. I know there's another mod that kind of usurps this, but I quite like the look of the redirect mod, and this is also kind of in response to another comment that people left telling me the error in which I was attaching one of the decouplers. So this is the main decoupler that the shuttle orbiter is going to attach to. I'm going to right click it and find the bipod option. There we go, and that adds a little bipod just there that the nose of the shuttle will attach to. That's not the decoupler I was talking about. I was talking about this one. So I couldn't figure out how to get the SRBs for the shuttle to attach, which is these ones here, because I was like, why aren't they attaching here? But there is in fact a hidden node. Ah, there we are. Now, one of the recommendations was to hold down Alt. Alt basically disables radial attachment, so see how it's attaching radially? If I hold down Alt, it won't do that. So it's easier to find, like, have the pieces snapped there, the green nodes. But I'm not holding Alt here, and it snaps together quite nicely. Then we have the nose cones slash Sepratron engines. As you can see, they've got those little apertures there. Those are solid rocket boosters themselves that help pull the boosters away from the shuttle. This is not lined up very well, is it? Let's just reconfigure that. That looks maybe about right. There, totally eyeballing it, but technically I'm not recreating the NASA shuttle, right? I'm building my own, so it's fine. Then we can we have to build the shuttle kind of back to front, to be honest. So let's just find the cockpit. There we've got the payload bay, boom, and then the cockpit there, and then we can add our maneuvering engines. Where are they? There we are. Oh, we got the rainstorms. These are not the vector engines in stock KSP. These are in fact very similar, but they have slightly different stats. I think I can't. You know what? I can't remember off the top of my head, so I'm not gonna. I don't want to get it wrong. I think they have slightly higher thrust, slightly higher mass, and they don't gimbal as much as the stock engines do. And oh, I've had a bit of a glitch. This glitch sometimes happens where you can't place engines, so I'll have to back out of the VAB and come back in to place those engines. But for now, we will continue building the orbiter. Let us close this and attach the wing. So we attach one wing. Okay, yeah, backing out of live commentary mode to say, yeah, I had this glitch when trying to attach the orbital maneuvering engines. The game would just bug out and then I couldn't place any other parts, and stuff like the launch button would stop working as well. I don't know what caused this. I really am sorry. If you do know though, please let me know in the comments below. And hey, in exchange for your wisdom, here's something that you might not necessarily know. Perhaps this is a little known feature in KSP, but if you go into the R&D facility, you can see not just the tech tree, but if you click the archives tab, you can see loads of information on the planets and moons you visited, like, their names and thorough details, which, is fine for inanimate planets, but quite unsettling when you remember that in real life, there are databases just like this containing your real personal information, being tossed between data broker sites, marketing firms, and potential cyber criminals. That's exactly why a subscription subscription to Incogni, today's sponsor, is so essential to have these days. They work to make sure your data is safe. Simply using the web leaves a trail of personal data that gets harvested up by data broker companies, and normally you'd have to contact each individual data broker yourself to request the removal of your data, and repeatedly at that. And with how many brokers exist, that's just not humanly possible. But with Incogni, it's all automated. They reach out to over 230 data brokers for you, automatically, repeatedly demanding your data be erased to safeguard it from ending up in the hands of advertisers, corporations, or cyber criminals. And with Incogni's custom removals tool, you can expand their reach even further by adding more places to send takedown requests to, maximizing your online protection. Identity theft, online harassment, and financial fraud all begin with stolen data. And this is more relevant now than ever, with breaches up 211% from 2023 to 2024. And that's why I use Incogni, and why you should be using it too. Click the link in the description and use code MATTLOWNE for 60% off their annual plan, so you can take control of your data before somebody else does. Okay, so attempt number 2 with building the space shuttle. I first of all just tried to build it again the same way as I built it before. As you can see, it is now being constructed in time-lapse mode. But here we are. Oh, I'm just sorting out the SRBs, and here we are attaching that aft point. And once again, I had that glitch, and then again, half the buttons stopped working. I couldn't place any parts. I really wasn't sure what was happening. I tried multiple times. I'm sort of showing a little edit here of me attempting to place the engines, and I just couldn't. See, I can place the what they call the rainstorms, but I just couldn't place the orbital maneuvering engine. So in the end, I started a new craft file build, just placed the aft section of the shuttle, and attempted again and again until eventually it would just let me place the engines. Then I just saved that aft part as a sub-assembly, and it worked. And now we can go back to live commentary. Okay, so that took ages. Sorry about that. So let's just now continue building the rest of the shuttle. So we got the tail there, or the rear part. There's the cargo bay, which we're going to close for now for the rest of this construction. Then I got the nose cone. There we are. And then we got the wings. So we've got the left wing here. There's no right wing piece. The way you get that is by placing another one. Right click it and press right. Then you got the right hand wing. There we go. We've got the elevon things here. Boom. I'm just going to duplicate that from that side. And then we can change them to be the correct orientation. There we are. Lovely. Then we've got the tail fin. And I think, oh no, how could we possibly forget with the gear, the wheels? Let's quickly add those. Boop. Oh. I'm under so much pressure here, guys. Trying to do like live commentary. I'm not going to do the entire construction of this live commentary, don't worry. Let's place the main gear. So this is the reason why I was kind of doing live commentary. A, just to kind of explain the mod, and also because I have to do this really awkward like movement of the camera to kind of get things to line up, and so if this was time-lapsed, it would be very, very disorientating. What orientation does this wheel need to go? I can't even see. Is that... Let me just find it again. Main gear. I mean, that looks correct, right? And then just attach. Why isn't that attaching? Oh, it's back to front. There, great. Right, and now we know it's the right way around. It's really kind of hard to tell it's the right way around. Oh, there we go. And then we can just retract these. And of course, retract the forward one. There we go. I'd say that looks more or less complete. So let us... Oh, hang on. I had to reload a save for this craft to get it to unglitch, and so I haven't added the nose cone now. There we are, and these SRBs look far too far forward. Let's just probably show a reference image of the shuttle so I can see exactly how to displace these engines, but that looks pretty good. Let's not have it be the Columbia insignia. Let's have a nice sort of non-real one. Although, we had the Explorer last time, didn't we? What else have we got? Enterprise, Explorer, Pathfinder, Independence, Resolution, Constitution, Adventure. That's cool. Or the Mayflower. Let's have that. The Mayflower, for those that don't know, I'm assuming it's named after the same thing, is the name of the boat that the founding fathers of the United States set sail on when they left the UK, and they set sail from the city that I live in Plymouth, in the UK. So we have lots of things about the Mayflower here. I guess in America, in Plymouth, America, you have things about the Mayflower there, maybe. I've gone past it. Although I kind of want to just have like the meatball logo. There we are. That's good. STS, NASA. Lovely jubbly. Okay, editor Matt here. I think I'm going to call it there for the live commentary portion of this build, and indeed for the rest of this video, save for the grand tour of the finished space station at the very end. Here we are now in the vehicle assembly building, building the payload for the space shuttle. And again, I'm kind of responding in a way to some of the comments or recommendations people left me on my Benji 10 Shuttle Orbiter mod video showcase, in that, you know, we need to add these little like structural connecting pieces that connect the cockpit of the shuttle to its payload. I hope that made sense. That's how I wasn't able to board Skylab Space Shuttle Laboratory, because I needed that little connection piece just there. So thank you everyone that gave me lots of tips and corrections for the mod showcase for the space shuttle. This is why I love having an audience that can tell me things, so I don't have to do much work myself. That sounded really bad. Anyway, the lion's share of our first space station module is constructed using parts from Natea's Stockalike station parts mod expansion Redux. I definitely got that wrong, but all those words were correct. I think they were just in slightly the wrong order, but you know, just Google space station mod Natea. It's going to come up on the first result of Google. I just sort of played around with loads of different modules, which is why I chose to time-lapse this bit, because you just saw me experimenting with all different parts, trying to find a nice configuration that I liked the look of. And there is the space shuttle on the launch pad ready to launch. Let's go ahead and launch it. And we are off on our maiden mission for the construction of our space station. As you can see, that I'm currently very, very clumsily rolling the space shuttle 180 degrees so that it's facing in the correct orientation, i.e. as we pitch east, it'll tip over so the external fuel tank and the solid rocket boosters are kind of above the orbiter, and the orbiter spaceplane itself is tipping over on its back. This little roll I needed to do wasn't any mistake on my part, but rather it was meant to be a simulation of the real-life shuttle, which also needed to, right after liftoff, perform a little maneuver called the roll program to align with its correct orbital path. The actual flight profile we're using here was used by the real shuttle in order to ensure things like the aerodynamic forces and stress upon the vehicle were, you know, distributed evenly and safely across the orbiter, external fuel tank and boosters during the ascent. Now, Artemis II actually did a very similar axial roll too, following its liftoff. I guess, which, you know, does raise the question as to why NASA didn't launch the shuttle and SLS already in the correct axial rotation, so, you know, no roll would be needed. But I guess this would have added a massive degree of complexity to the exact design and orientation of not just the launch pad, but all the ground support equipment. That was a very safe and human SRB staging event, by the way. Yeah, it would have made a huge, added a massive amount of complexity to the exact design and orientation of, you know, like I say, not just the launch pad, but all that ground support equipment, crew access and escape routes, well, everything really, such that all that effort would have been far less practical than just doing a 10-second roll maneuver after liftoff. And, you know, in real life, the shuttle and SLS rolled over a lot more smoothly than my shuttle did on liftoff, and indeed, currently, it was very difficult for me to control here. We're sort of lurching about all over the place somewhat here. I guess by virtue of the real vehicles being flown by proper flight computers and flight hardware rather than, you know, one person mashing WASD on a keyboard to awkwardly orient the craft the right way during flight. But hey, isn't the second method by far the more Kerbal approach to spaceflight anyway? Now I'm aiming for an apoapsis, which just finished my main burn there, of about, I wanted an altitude of 150 kilometers for my space station, because just seemed like a nice round number, right? Now that actually concludes the use of our space shuttle main engines, and indeed the use of the external fuel tank. Now what you don't see here is I made a quick save and then detached the shuttle and realized we didn't have any fuel for the orbital maneuvering engines. For some reason, again, this is me being an idiot, I assumed they were powered by monopropellant. So I just launched, and then when I detached the shuttle, I realized they actually require liquid fuel and oxidizer. And we didn't have any oxidizer on board the space shuttle internal fuel tanks, but there was still oxidizer remaining inside our big orange external fuel tank. So I just pumped some oxidizer from the tank to the orbiter and proceeded. I guess I didn't even have to say all this. I could have just pretended this was the plan all along, but I feel like some people might have said, Matt, why did you have to do that oxidizer transfer to the space shuttle? So here I am, being transparent and honest and say, speaking of being transparent, well, you can see the payload. Because it's like we've got a transparent... That was awful. I'm so sorry. But you can now see the space shuttle payload as we open our payload bay doors. And yeah, the first step... well, I guess the next step... The first step is to launch, right? But the next step in our mission is to circularize into a circular Kerbin orbit. I was about to say low Kerbin orbit, but then I was like, no, it's not a low Kerbin orbit. But then I'm like, no, actually, it is a low Kerbin orbit. So... great commentary. It's going to be a fairly long burn, 43 seconds, because our thrust rate ratio isn't great. The engines that we're using are fairly weak, and this is quite a hefty payload when you consider not just the payload, but the fact that the orbiter itself weighs quite a bit. We've got 7 Kerbals on board, just like the real space... Well, again, the real space shuttle had 7 humans on board, but I'm saying, you know, the crew capacity was 7. And now we are circularized into a more or less completely circular orbit. There's less than kind of a kilometer almost between our apoapsis and periapsis, so I think that's good enough. So now we're going to dramatically undock the payload. And yeah, I guess something was, I think something was clipped into something, because when I pressed undock, it sprang out of the payload bay, which was kind of a bit disappointing. I wanted to get a nice, slow, dramatic payload deployment, just like that original space shuttle video I made almost 10 years ago to the day. But I guess the universe is a cruel mistress sometimes. I kind of wanted to recreate the thumbnail shot from that original video, so that I just used the RCS thrusters of our payload here to get it closer to the shuttle payload bay doors. Then we could just like take some screenshots and just pretend it deployed kind of naturally and smoothly. I don't know what is naturally really the right word. I don't think there's anything natural about a space shuttle, but you know, maybe. Yeah, that's it. I have nothing else to say. I'm just I was floundering with things to talk about whilst nothing really dramatic is happening. But in just a second, we will get a Kerbal out on EVA to do a visual inspection of our deployed payload. Although the payload itself is not fully deployed yet, it's still got its solar panel arrays stashed away. Now, these are not going to be the main solar arrays for the finished space station. There is going to indeed be a full-on massive solar panel array that would put the giant solar arrays of the International Space Station to shame. And just like the International Space Station, for whilst we're building this, we'll be using smaller temporary solar panel arrays just to kind of keep things, you know, powered up. Although unlike the International Space Station, we're not going to have permanent crew on board until it's fully, completely finished being constructed. But here we got a little Kerbal out on EVA. Was this Bill Kerman, I think? I've turned off the UI for that dramatic shot, which is not that helpful when it comes to me describing. Oh, there we go. The UI is back, and it is indeed Bill Kerman just there. I usually paint my engineer Kerbals' suits like blue, just because I feel like engineering, that's like a blue color, right? Like biology is green, engineering is blue, and pilots red, I guess? I don't know. Anyway, here I am demonstrating this internal hatch works. Thanks to, again, you guys told me I needed to use this little structural Z bend piece, for want of a better description, to access any kind of like onboard lab modules like the Skylab. No, Space Lab, not Skylab. Skylab was obviously the Saturn V, but it was a space station. The little science lab that the shuttle could carry was called Space Lab. Yes, almost made a fool of myself just then, which obviously something I never do normally. And how was that for a view? Imagine that being your office window, eh? Terrifying. Anyway, there is our first module deployed. Now, yeah, I did think about, you know, doing all the other launches for this mission, you know, also be supported by space shuttles, but as you can see, the deployed payload isn't that big, and I kind of wanted to have a really dramatic and intimidating and impressive looking space station. So I thought it's nice to do the first, you know, launch with the space shuttle to really be a good homage to my original KSP building a space shuttle video. Wait, no, building a space station video. But then for subsequent launches, I want to build bigger and better and more impressive and, you know, stuff that wouldn't fit inside the payload bay of our space shuttle orbiter. So we're going to retire our space shuttle after just one flight, just like the Soviets did, and we're going to go back to rockets for the remainder of this build. But hey, you know, I guess this is again kind of a little bit of an homage to the original building a space station video, which of course I only used the space shuttle for the first launch. I did think about, again, you know, building this entire space station for this video using the space shuttle, maybe even using different kinds of space shuttle, like a Buran for launch number 2, and then like a fictional space shuttle for launch number 3, and then like a Reliant Robin space shuttle for launch number 4, etc., etc. But you guys have seen the runtime of this video, right? I didn't want it to be longer than it already is, so yeah, we're going back to rockets for the next one, and maybe that's an idea for a future video, right? Building a space station exclusively with space shuttles. I have already done that before, but that was like 8 years ago, as scary as it is to say that out loud, so I feel like enough time has passed that I can do that video again. You know, I feel like I've evolved as a person, and mods have come out, the game has got dramatically better, so, you know, I think it's a good potential topic to revisit for another day. Anyway, one thing, you know, in my original building a space station video that I kind of regret is that I actually undershot the runway for the Kerbal Space Center, and I had to reactivate my space shuttle main engines again just to kind of make sure I did, you know, just land on the grass, and even then I kind of did. So this time we're going to see if we can make things right and land on the runway without using any kind of engines, not the space shuttle main engines or indeed our orbital maneuvering engines, because in like reality we wouldn't have any, like, there's no external fuel tank, so the space shuttle main engines wouldn't be able to fire again. So here we are coming into land. It looks like it's been raining recently because of those reflective puddles on the Kerbal Space Center runways, and indeed actually all of the surfaces there. There you go, our landing gear has been deployed. We've got our little air brake, what's it called? The rear vertical stabilizer. It can kind of split in two like that and create a sort of air brake effect. Coming in, it's not the most realistic approach, is it? I was just trying to bleed off a bit of speed, so we're touching down nice and steadily. There's a little landed booster there. We ran a video a few months ago now, I feel like, that video, where I landed a booster there. I can't remember what video it was. And are you ready? Whoop. Nearly. Maybe. Okay, I think we are going down quite fast there, but then whoop, touchdown. Yeah, I feel like our vertical descent speed was a bit high. I think it would have been nice to be going a little bit faster horizontally, a little bit slower vertically. But you know, the real life space shuttle was known to be a flying brick, which some people said was a bit of a hot take of mine on the last video, but that's not a quote from me. Like, the real space shuttle pilots all kind of described the space shuttle as a bit of a flying brick because it had terrible glide ratio, or at least compared to a normal aircraft. But I think we could all agree it was much, much cooler than any other aircraft. So that's it. We're going to move on now to building the next module of our space station, and as you can see, I'm sparing absolutely no expense. We're using the biggest centrifuge piece that comes with Netea's Stockalike Station Parts Expansion Redux mod. Again, I was trying to think really hard about the order in which those words need to be said in order to get the correct title of the mod, but I feel like it's close enough. You can just Google that phrase and it will have all the right parts to show that mod as the first result. I will also put some links to Benji10 Shuttle Orbiter mod and indeed this space station parts mod in this video's description, so you just check out the video description and click those. And as well, there'll also be a list of all the graphics mods I'm using, which makes my game look absolutely beautiful. Anyway, we have now encased our payload in a fairing. Now we're just going to build a big dumb booster. Actually, not just a big dumb booster, a only somewhat dumb booster. The upper stage has a probe core and some solar panels and some batteries, so that when we attach our space station piece to the current space station piece in orbit, we can detach the engine stage, it can deorbit itself and not leave any clutter or indeed any kind of awkward engines left still attached to the space station structure. And then for the rest of the build, I'm sort of doing this SLS style thing. I didn't realize at the time that the redirect mod, I think it's the redirect mod anyway, actually has like a proper SLS style engine mount. I did then discover this piece for I think it's the next launch or maybe the launch after, but either way, one of the future launches in this video will be using that SLS piece, so don't worry if anyone's yelling at the screen saying, Matt, why aren't you using this piece? Don't worry, I'll figure it out, guys. But for now, let's launch this rocket. And our second launch is well underway in this very SLS looking rocket. I guess it's kind of a lot bigger than the SLS because I think it's got 6 main engines, but they are, you know, the Rainstorm engines, which are the same kind of engines that the SLS would be using. And we've got the SLS style SRB. So I guess we could say this could be like an imagining of like what the SLS Block 3 would have looked like before they all got scrapped except SLS Block 1 sad times. So yeah, this looks so cool. I'm so happy that Artemis II launched during the day. It was much more likely that it would have launched at night, and that would have been so disappointing because we all want to see it, right? And I feel like maybe this is like stupid, and you guys would massively disagree with me here, but I feel like NASA, for missions like that, like Artemis II, where there's going to be crew going to do amazing things, going to the moon, NASA should prioritize a daytime launch, even if it means delaying the launch a bit, so they'll have a better, for a more optimal launch window that happens in the day, because, we've got to get the public interested in space flight, and obviously I am not an American, but if I was an American, I would be paying taxes in America, and I want to see the rocket that my tax dollars contributed towards. And getting kids excited into STEM subjects, things like that, and also getting people excited about space and Kerbal Space Program. Therefore, my YouTube channel gets a nice little boost in numbers. I just think it's a real shame that Artemis 1 launched during the nighttime. I don't know how much that would have affected public interest in Artemis 2, but I'm really glad that Artemis 2 did indeed launch in the day, so we could finally see that beautiful orange rocket in all its magnificent glory. And speaking of that beautiful orange rocket, it's going. There it is, tumbling away. It's been spent. Now we're just using physics time warp as we cruise our way through the upper parts of the atmosphere until we get into the vacuum of space, where I can start using normal time warp. It's far less time consuming for you guys because I can speed the footage up, but yeah, took a wee while for me here. Now, as you can see, we're on the map screen, and at this point, I realized I'd completely forgotten to check where the space station was in orbit before we launched, so I didn't launch at any kind of sensible window that was going to get us a nice, easy encounter with our space station. So now I'm just going to have to wait around. And so it's going to be kind of an awkward journey getting to the space station with this payload, because, again, I forgot what I was even doing. I was like, right, here on the launch pad, let's just launch. And then I was like, oh yeah, I was meant to be going to the space station, wasn't I? So we've circularized in orbit. Now I'm just plotting a maneuver that's going to get us a nice close encounter with our space station. And we can continue with the mission of building a space station. One thing I didn't actually do when making this video was come up with a good name for the space station, because quite frankly I couldn't really think of one. So if anyone has any good ideas about what we could call this space station, then let me know in the comments below, and I will choose I won't choose the most liked one, because it'll be something stupid like Space Station McStation Face, or whatever that Boaty McBoatface thing was called. I'll just pick a name that I think is cool if I like it. I mean, one of the reasons I'm actually building this space station isn't because, well, it is kind of because of the fact that I knew my 10-year anniversary of my most popular video was coming up around April this year, so I'm like, gosh, I've got to do some sort of space station video as a homage to that. But also, I have another upcoming video idea that I think will be really fun, but it requires me to be able to refuel the craft in low carbon orbit. It's like an SSTO mission, but not like a conventional SSTO. You guys won't be able to guess what it is because it's really weird, but I thought it would be quite fun to do. But I'm currently still in my Lowne Aerospace 3 save file, where I don't have a space station at all, not just any kind of refueling space station. I don't have a space station whatsoever, at least in low carbon orbit. So that's kind of the other reason why I wanted to do a low carbon orbit space station, was so that, yeah, we can have the ability to refuel stuff in low carbon orbit. And before I started Lowne Aerospace 3, my old save file, I had a couple of space stations in low carbon orbit. One of them was used primarily for refueling craft. It did come in useful during missions where I didn't realize I was going to actually need it. And I was like, oh, I'm kind of low on fuel, but hey, I can go to my space station and refuel it. So I think it's just nice to have that capacity or your ability to refuel stuff in a pinch, especially when I'm trying to make, missions kind of have to be done on time, because I need to upload, well, I like to try and aim to upload once a week. And so if a mission kind of goes wrong, it's nice to be able to just salvage it rather than have to go back all the way to square one. So, yeah, that's another reason. Anyway, here we are, docking the two station parts together and making this officially a modular space station. Nearly. I always find the senior sized docking ports are a bit more fiddly to dock together compared to the regular sized docking ports. I guess because they're generally attached to bigger vessels, right? I don't really know. So we're going to try and get them to attach together properly this time without them bouncing apart, or a little bit, or yeah, just up to the docking acquire force. And there we are. We now have a dual module space station, but as you can see, we have lots of empty docking ports to make use of. I'm actually using this little feature here that you guys might not know about. You can right-click the docking ports and rotate them slightly because, yeah, our solar panels aren't going to be quite lined up, as you can see. But, yeah, the docking was so out of alignment that actually I couldn't correct the the torsion of one of the modules, even with the docking port rotation tool. So I guess this is just something we're gonna have to just live with. When we add the main solar arrays, I can retract the kind of retractable solar panels, the ones that are on the module I've just added. So this will only be a temporary annoyance, and I think, you know, if push comes to shove, I can just undock these two parts together, undock these two components, and then redock them after reorienting one using the RCS thrusters. That was, I don't know why I struggled so much to say all that, but here you can see I have now deorbited our crafter. Look at this. This wasn't even planned. I just deorbited it and I was like, oh, it's the Kerbal Space Center. Isn't this? Wouldn't it be? I could just pretend that I planned this and I just look like a really good player, and now I've just spilled the beans to you guys. But I'll make it up to you guys, because look, I'm going to do a perfect Falcon 9 style landing where everything gets recovered. The game was frozen though, so everything was fine. There was no explosion, so we can go ahead and come to the vehicle assembly building where we can build the next mission. Well, the next component for our space station, and this is going to be the most challenging one yet, because it's going to be the heaviest payload, because it's going to be our refueling tanker, or should I say tankers. That's right. I was like, oh, this video is going to be quite long. Let's just have two big refueling bays in the form of two orange fuel tanks and a little fuel tank in between them, but we have two of them. So I'm building one, and then we'll just clone it. So there, I've attached it to a fairing piece. I've set the fairing piece as our root part, so now we can select everything we've just built and clone it across. And there we are. The fuel reserves. We're not going to use any of the fuel on board those fuel tanks to actually get to orbit and indeed dock with the space station, because I want it to be attached to the station fully fueled, right? So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a challenge. It's going to be a heavy old payload. It's going to be fairly sluggish to control as well. So yeah, how exciting is this? And you can see I'm building the craft like this. You'll then see me adding extra fuel tanks, because I ended test flight and realized it couldn't get to space, or it ran out of fuel too early. So you'll kind of see me build it, and then I'll add bits and take bits off. And yeah, that's the reason I did it that way, because I didn't really have a plan. I just sort of built a rocket that I thought looked like it was enough, and it turned out it wasn't. Yeah, you can see me now. I've removed those SRBs. I'm now adding some bigger ones here, and then I added an extra fuel tank to our main stage here, a couple of extra engines to our first stage, and then an extra fuel tank to our upper stage. And hopefully all of this together will be enough to get us to space. So here, see, I remembered. We're on the map screen this time, just time warping to a point where I feel like the space station is in a good place, so that when I launch and reach orbit, I'll be somewhat nearby. Time will tell if this strategy worked though, eh? Oh, yeah, we're much slower off the pad this time around, aren't we? So luckily for you guys, I can speed the footage up here as we begin our ascent. Now, I was about to say, did I remember to use the SLS engine mount for this thing? But I don't think I did I? No, I'm just using the Saturn V style engine mount that comes with the Making History DLC as we begin our launch ascent. And yeah, and it's a bit less painful now. Sped the footage up. I think it's playing back 4 times faster than real speed, to give you guys a frame of reference as to how slow this thing was lifting off, not just because it was really big and heavy, but also had quite a high part count. So the game does tend to chug when part counts exceed certain levels. So yeah, but it's a beautiful day. And again, we have another kind of very SLS looking rocket. Let's call this SLS Block 3B. Although, is this rocket technically smaller than the... I can't remember. You could rewind, and then, you know, that makes it look like people are watching my videos more, maybe. And you can see compare. I feel like this rocket is bigger than the one we launched for the last mission. As we leave those beautiful volumetric clouds further and further behind us, can barely even see the Kerbal Space Center's runway at this stage. But yeah, it's a really great time to be a Kerbal Space Program YouTuber right now, because I think within the last couple of days, Kerbal Space Program's Steam player count actually reached an all-time high, like higher than the 1.0 release back in April 2015. I think it was April 2015, around that time anyway, which is absolutely incredible. I think Project Hail Mary has helped as well, but it's got to be Artemis II, right? Because yeah, it was such a spike. And yeah, so is anyone here new? How do you like the channel so far? Hopefully it's not too disappointing. I mean, if you made it 35 minutes into the video, you probably think it's at least somewhat okay. And so if you are new here, and hey, you're not yet subscribed, why not press subscribe, right? I've got to ask that as a YouTuber, you know, like and ring the bell and join my things in the video description. But, yeah, I make Kerbal Space Program videos every Saturday. Usually, I mean, I think this year I've missed like 2 Saturdays. So I always try and get it every Saturday if I absolutely can. Yeah, in this sort of style. So, yeah, watch this video just completely bombs now. But yeah, once again, we've got quite a long cruise. Looking back at the screen and talking about actually what's happening. We've got kind of a long cruise back to Low Kerbadors. I'm playing the footage back really, really quick. And... oh, I thought we were about to... sorry, I forgot how to play Kerbal Space Program for a second. I was like, we've passed 60 kilometers. We are now in space. But of course, space starts at 70 kilometers in Kerbal Space Program. Not quite sure. I forgot that very fundamental fact. Especially because this wasn't even like the first mission of the day. I've already done like 2. I forgot how many missions I've already launched I've done so far. We've already done 2 missions, one of them being a space shuttle, which I feel like is fairly... I feel like space shuttles in general are kind of tricky in Kerbal Space Program, which is why I don't really like doing them very often, because they are really fiddly. However, Ben G10's Space Shuttle mod is brilliant because the shuttle just works. Using the mod really takes out all the guesswork of trying to make a shuttle that will not just launch and not flip out of control on ascent, but also it will be fine during descent, or will be able to keep its nose up and all that. It's really reignited my love for space shuttles. Maybe I'll try out... maybe I should look into down at other space shuttle mods. If you guys have any recommendations, let me know. And yeah, maybe it's inspired me somewhat to have another crack at building a stock space shuttle. Although I feel like, I don't know, stock and NASA space shuttles, I think I'm kind of over them. They're really stressful to build. Well, they're not even stressful. They're just awkward. They're just a bit tricky and fiddly, and rockets are just much easier. So, and I guess that's kind of true for real life as well, because the space shuttle has of course been retired now. Both space shuttles have been retired, as in the Buran and the NASA shuttle. I know there was more than 2 NASA shuttles, and you can see just then I was doing lots of time warping, because although I tried to launch at a optimal launch window, we still ended up nowhere near the space station. So I had to wait a few orbits for our craft to catch up to our space station. Then we can perform a little burn that's going to get us on a nice close encounter, and then we can, what I'm doing here, guys, is like we've got a nice close separation, in this case 0.1 kilometers, so can't get much closer, right? We're about 100 meters separation. Although in fact, actually, it's dropped down to 0.0 kilometers, so I guess I stand corrected. We could indeed get closer. Then we switch our nav board to be kind of showing our velocity relative to our target, which in this case is the space shuttle. No, that's the launch vehicle. Space station. I keep muddling up space shuttle and space station somehow during this commentary. But no, I mean the space station in this context. And yeah, now comes probably one of the... I wouldn't necessarily want to use the word trickiest, but certainly the fiddliest, most kind of annoying parts of this, which is maneuvering these big, heavy fuel tanks to dock with their respective docking ports. Because again, we don't want to use any of the fuel on board. So I'm left only being able to use the really weedy RCS engines. I guess I could have packed some beefier RCS engines, but I don't really like having very visible engines on my space stations. I like it to look like just a constructed thing, right? There's no engines that would let the space station do anything of its own accord. So, for example, it was built using a robot arm, like the Canadarm, for example. I don't know. Anyway, we have now undocked our first of our 2 big fuel tanks, and as you can see, already it's it doesn't seem to be wanting to separate. I think the maybe the magnets on the side-mounted docking ports are attracting one another, and now as you can see, both vessels are now hurtling towards the space station. I prayed that our deployed solar array wouldn't get damaged by the fuel tanker. I'm not even controlling at this point. I don't think I even noticed it was on a collision course until this exact moment where everything started wobbling out of control. So I think I just initiated some time warp. There we are. Oh, that's physics time warp. Am I going to use normal time warp? Oh, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I can't remember. But just try and stabilize everything. Then we're going to try and burn towards our target once again. And get things lined up. We only have kind of the basic, what are they called, probe cores on board the space station. So I'm trying to use my lazy method of docking, of having both vehicles maintain docking alignment using auto SAS to make things a bit easier. But we only had kind of the basic probe cores on the space station, so it doesn't have the ability to do auto SAS, but I think now that we've got one of our fuel tankers attached, the fuel tankers have the advanced probe cores. So now in theory the space station should be able to maintain automatic alignment with the other tanker, so the second phase of docking here should go a bit smoother than the first phase, although we do have to do a bit of an unrealistic turn. I know it's unrealistic. It would be more realistic to just dock the pieces to a stationary station, but it's just quicker to do it this way, and I am being mindful of the fact that this video was going to be really long because I'm launching so many things. We still got to do like the solar arrays, so there's going to be a couple more launches to go. So I thought to make things quicker and easier, we'll just do it this way, even though it's maybe a bit unrealistic. You know, it's fine. We got RCS engines on the station, so it does have the means of propulsively spinning itself on the spot, not relying on reaction wheels, which might not be quite as powerful as they are in KSP in real life. But here we are. Nearly. Oh, there we are. We have docked to the space station. So now we have our two massive fuel refineries kind of T-posing there. Well, the space station is T-posing with its oil refineries, fuel refineries. So now we're just going to deorbit our stage here. Now, I learned from the mistakes of the past. I'm going to not try and rely on just the ability to propulsively land like Falcon 9 because I might have messed it up the first time, and also we've actually run out of fuel at this point. But I have some parachutes on board our second stage here, so we can actually land it safely. I picked the desert. This was a deliberate choice. We'll be landing on soft sand, and this isn't just a coincidence. I'm now just reverse engineering this choice. There we are. Beautiful. It's like standing on its own two legs. It looks a bit like the legs of the wrong trousers from Wallace and Gromit, doesn't it? Anyway, so now we're back in the vehicle assembly building, launching our penultimate payload. That means second to last, by the way. I see a lot of people use the word penultimate, meaning like the last, but it means second to last. So they are. Fun facts with Matt. So this is going to be the this is going to be the big solar array. In fact, it's going to be one of two solar arrays. Just like before, we had those orange tankers. We've got one either side of the space shuttle. We're going to have one solar array either side of this. I said space shuttle, didn't I? I just realized. I just caught myself a couple of seconds later. I said space shuttle once again. Oh, I feel like I'm going to miss me saying that at one point in this video, and everyone's gonna be like, Matt said space shuttle when he meant space station, or I said space station when I meant space shuttle. I don't know. I don't know why I'm finding it so hard to not make that mistake. Anyway, I'm drawing attention to my own personal shortcomings. Let's talk about the rocket. So, unlike before, although we have a payload that's just as wide as the one we just launched, it's much lighter. So I kind of made a kind of false stage just there. If I used the actual 5-meter size tank, we'd have far too much fuel on our upper stage. Instead, I used a 5-meter interstage fairing and then used a smaller diameter fuel tank to power our upper stage engine. And our first stage engines have the SLS engine mount. Yeah, I remembered, see? So let's launch it. So yes, unlike our previous two launches, we do not require supplementary solid rocket boosters to get ourselves off the pad, because again, this is a much lighter payload. The only reason I have this really wide rocket is because the payload itself is really wide. Everything else is way overpowered. So yeah, got a fairly short and stumpy first stage, powered by just the 4 Mastodon engines, which are like the in-game equivalent of the Saturn V. So yeah, a little bit cursed. They're mounted to the SLS. In fact, looking back, I think... No, I was about to say, I think I mounted the SLS-style engines to the Saturn V mount for the previous launch, but no, I used the Saturn V engines for that one as well. But yeah, maybe I should have used the Vector engines for this to make it a bit more realistic, considering I'm using the SLS core stage engine mount, but I don't know, whatever. I'm more doing this to showcase that, yes, I did... Don't worry, guys, I did find that there was this piece here. Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, we've now cleared the cloud layer, so now we're just well on our way to space. Our apoapsis is shooting up very nicely, and we've got, frankly, far too much Delta V in this rocket, which is just as well for our upper stage, I mean, because I forgot to add a parachute for our upper stage. So once again, I have a probe core and reaction wheel and solar panels and all that on our upper stage, so we can deorbit ourselves. But I learned from the mistakes of the first attempt by having parachutes on the second attempt, and then I forgot everything for the third one, so now we're back to kind of doing things Falcon 9 style, which I guess would be a step forward in real life because, you know, it feels a bit more advanced to be propulsively landing rather than using parachutes, but also it's a bit... I mean, how did I forget? I guess it was just... Time was just taking a toll on me, right? How many launches has it been so far? 3. So I guess not that many if I were to consider myself a professional player of this game, but... No, whatever. Really sped the footage up just there because we had, once again, a very long coast through the upper parts of the atmosphere to reach the border of space, but now we have crossed the border of space. We can go ahead and just do a little bit of burning here to get a nice close encounter with our space station. So for this time, the space station is actually behind us. So we need to let it catch up to us. So we went into a higher orbit than our space station's orbit because higher orbits are slower than lower orbits. So if you're trying to dock with a space station or whatever and it's coming up behind you, just raise your orbit and you'll be slower and it can catch up to you just like our space station has caught up to us here. So then we can point ourselves retrograde, kind of high relative velocity, but over 250 meters per second of speed needed to be killed here. But we've got the Rhino engine, which is a fairly powerful vacuum engine. And again, we don't have a very high dry mass on our spacecraft, so it wasn't a very long burn overall. And let's see if we can see it. Set eyes on our target. There it is. So then I did a small burn towards it, thinking it would get us nice and close. But as you can see, as we time warp, we got not that close, and now we're getting further and further away again. So bit of a whoops on my part. So now we're going to do another more substantial burn pointing towards the space station. And then I'm going to actually use the map screen to check our separation to make sure we are indeed going to get nice and close to it to facilitate docking our solar arrays to the space station. But this is going to be the final major module that we add to it because I feel like it's fairly complete. I wanted it to have the ability to have crew and do science and stuff on board, which I feel like we did with our first and second launches. I crucially wanted it to have lots of fuel so we could refuel stuff. That's what we did with our third launch. And then it needed to have power. Now, again, we do have solar panels on the station anyway, and in KSP, solar panels produce a magical amount of electricity, so that actually we don't need any additional solar panels, but come on, it's always cool to have big solar arrays on space stations. So I wanted some big solar arrays on my space station. We're doing the lazy method of docking though and having both vehicles orient themselves and using auto SAS to maintain target, just because again I kind of wanted the brevity and all that. I didn't want the video to be dragged on too long by huge chunks of runtime, just me clumsily orienting the RCS controls to dock things together quote properly. I'm doing the air quotes thing. So yeah, I will make it up to you guys though for the final mission where we launch a kind of Dragon style crew capsule to the space station. I'm not going to do the lazy method of docking. We're going to dock the spacecraft, or the crew spacecraft. So the next launch is going to be sending crew, obviously. So the crew mission, we're going to dock to the space station correctly. The space station is going to remain stationary, relative. Obviously, it will rotate in space naturally, but we're not going to do any rotation or anything to help make our docking easier. All the docking maneuvers are going to be done with our spacecraft with the crew on it. I feel like that was a horribly verbose stream of consciousness that you've just been subjected to, so sorry about that. But yeah, now once again just sort of orienting the craft to or orbiting the crafts, I should say plural, to make the docking easier. Although yeah, so here I'm just trying to kill my velocity for the docking arm, solar array arm. So we're going 0 meters per second relative to the space station. And then we can go ahead and point towards the target docking port and cruise it towards it. I guess not much more needs to be said there. And there we have it. So yeah, now we're going to just time warp to the daytime side of Kerbin so you can all see in full glory, witness the deployment of our solar panel arrays. I forgot to disable the UI. That would have been good to do, wouldn't it? But hey, look at that. Doesn't that just look like a space station? Doesn't that just really tie it all together? And again, the solar arrays aren't quite, in the correct kind of torsional alignment, but I can use the rotation abilities of the docking ports to fix that. And luckily they weren't as out of alignment as the previous solar panels were, so we can get them pretty much exactly lined up. I wanted them to have this sort of angled appearance relative to the structure of the rest of the space station, so that the panels are being occluded by the rest of the space station as minimally as possible. And then we can retract our temporary solar array just there. And I think that's pretty much the space station completed. However, there's still some crucial things that we need to do. First of all, obviously, is deorbiting this spent stage here. We then need to get crew on board the space station, and among the crew will be some engineers, because we have a gravity ring on board the space station, but we can't deploy it unless we have at least 2 engineers on board. So that's going to be the next big major step in the construction of the space station. Right now, we're just doing a Falcon 9 style landing of this stage. And ready? Oh, got a little bit trigger happy with the engine burning just there, but we're coming down on nice soft grass. Maybe. Aha! We've come to a standstill. So successful landing there. So we're now in the vehicle assembly building constructing the Wyvern. Get it? It's like dragon, but yeah. Anyway. So I wanted to have a nice large crew roster. I thought so. I've added this I've made this kind of custom pod here where we have the Apollo style capsule for 3 Kerbals on board, and then an additional capacity for 6 more Kerbals below it. And I just thought that looks kind of nice. You know, leave a comment, rate out of 10 below if you want. I don't know. and then we'll add. Well, I guess I'm just going to build the rest of the spacecraft, right? So I'm using an in-stage fare in there just to kind of tidy it up a bit, to make it a bit neater during launch, and indeed be more aerodynamically better. One of better phrasing there. And I'm adding some RCS tanks just here to this kind of. So again, we've got like a probe core and all that for the upper stage of our rockets that it can detach from the Wyvern and then be able to like deorbit itself separately, etc, etc. And then we can just build a fairly basic rocket underneath. I did consider building like a Falcon 9 replica, as in a rocket that can land itself, but honestly, look at the runtime of this video. Let's just do things as efficiently as possible. Well, I guess efficiently is the wrong word, right? Because we're expending the stage, which economically is not very efficient, but in terms of time saving, it's much more efficient. So let's launch. And there we are, leaving the launch pad for the final time in this video, and it feels a little bit criminal to be using those Rockomax jumbo tanks and not have them painted orange, but I guess I wanted this craft to look a bit more like the Cygnus and or the early Falcon 9 model rocket. So I know Falcon 9 Block 5, which is the current and I guess final iteration of Falcon 9, has a lot more black accents. The early ones were mostly just all white, so that kind of looks a bit more like this rocket here. As we clear the clouds there, it was a bit of a grey day when we lifted off, but now we're above the lowest clouds. We've got a lovely view of that blue sky there. As you know, we continue our ascent to space, and indeed the space station. I got it right, and you might have noticed actually before I launched, I was on the map screen trying to time warp to a kind of what I thought would be an optimal time to launch, so we could get a nice, quick and easy encounter with our space station. To be honest, guys, I recorded this yesterday, so I recorded this footage on Thursday. Now I'm commentating over it on Friday. A whole day later, I can't remember how successful this launch was, so I guess we all get to enjoy it in real time together. And speaking of real time, you know, for the first part of this video, which I'm actually starting to regret now because it might have turned a lot of people off because it was a bit more tedious than my normal commentary. I think the live commentary part of me building the space station. I said it again! Building the space shuttle. But I'll be doing some live commentary at the very end because, guys, as I speak to you right now, I have not actually looked at the space station. I almost said space shuttle again. I have not looked at the space station in its final form, as in I've not looked inside. So I thought it'd be nice to do like a little interior tour together, live commentary style. So just live commentary, because I have the mod-free IVA installed, which means we can have Kerbals fly around the interior of space stations and space shuttles. I didn't really mention it at the time, but earlier when I did the space shuttle mission, I had Bill Kerman flying around the inside of the space shuttle, and yeah, that's courtesy of the mod-free IVA. I realise there might be a few players watching who are a bit newer to Kerbal Space Program, might be wondering, how do I do that? It's the mod-free IVA. It's one of those mods that I really cannot recommend enough. I have actually put together a list, well, I guess I've put together a list, but I've put together a script for a video giving a top 10 tips for new players of Kerbal Space Program. At least that's how the video script started. It's currently at 71 tips for players, and it's like half an hour long. So I've actually recorded the entire commentary. I just now add clips showing footage of me doing each of the 71 tips. So look forward to that. Yeah, they range from very, very basic things to things that I think people might not necessarily know about. I think one of the tips was how you can rotate docking ports, like I've been doing in this video, but there's other things I think not many people know about. So hopefully that should be ready for the next upload I do. But time will tell, I guess. Sometimes when videos start to take really, really long in the editing room and it's like getting close to my day of upload, I need to then put that project on hold and do something else that will be guaranteed to be done on time. Then I go back to the other project. Ironically, so when I do that, I call it like a filler video. I'll do like a filler video that's quicker and easier to do, but still, I hope, meets my normal standard of quality. How you want to define my standard of quality yourselves, I'll leave that to you. But then I'll resume the harder stuff for the next week. And one of the filler videos I did back in the day was I'll just do a video where I build a space station, right? This mission I'm trying to do where I'm doing this SSTO to lathe. It's taking a while. I'll just quickly build a space station and use copyrighted music so I can't make any money off of it. And then just make a video out of that and publish that. And now it's like to this day my most popular video. And I think that's the case for a lot of my most popular ones. They were just sort of easy videos. Like, I'll just do an easy video, nice quick filler video, and then I can put more of it into like the harder stuff. And then, you know, so I don't know if there's a lesson to be learned there, but I'm not sure. Anyway, it is now, as you can see, our crew has docked to the space station. So now we can do the thing that I think you might hopefully all have been waiting for. And that is the transfer of our engineer Kerbals onto the space station so that we can deploy our gravity ring. Which, well, it's quite slow to deploy. So I've actually sped the footage up here. I think it's playing back 4 times faster than real-time speed. So we can watch our centrifuge deploy. And it's called the Pilgrim Space Station Rotation. I don't know, but the part is called the Pilgrim. Hey, the first vehicle that I used in this mission was the Mayflower, which carried the Pilgrim Fathers to America. So it's like they rhyme, the beginning and the end. Yeah, anyway, let's just have a quick moment just staring at the space station just there. Beautiful stuff. But now I think we've finished staring at it from the outside. Let us stare at it from the inside. So editing Matt, will leave you all and pass you over to live commentary Matt. So over to you, live Matt. Thank you, editing Matt. Love that guy. Right, let us commence the tour. So I guess actually there's one more thing we need to do. That is right-click this piece here, our hydroponics module, and press open. Oh, and there we are. We've got our food for the space station. And indeed, you know, the plant experiments. Anyway, let's just find a Kerbal that's not currently on board the station. Here we are. So we can unbuckle and begin our journey onto the space station. Did I say space shuttle again earlier? I feel like I didn't I? But this is live commentary, so I can't go back and check. Right. We're now going to... oh, I pressed the wrong... Oh, this is embarrassing. Take 2. Unbuckle. And there we are. Now we can fit through the hatch. Don't know what happened just there that first time. Oh, it's a little bit laggy for me, I must admit. So we're going to open up this hatch. And now we're on the first module of the space station. This is one of our laboratories, I think. This is where I keep the fire. This is our chalkboard just here. One of our laptops. I think this is a Lenovo ThinkPad, in fact, isn't it? There we are. I was trying to keep the tour somewhat concise. I'm not going to go through all the minutiae within each of the modules. So that was the first module done. Now we're going to go through the next one, which I believe is the... Oh, hello there. This is one of our logistics modules, I believe. This is going to be where our engineers hang out and do their work, because those are the 2 engineers on board the space station. For some reason, I felt the need to transfer them onto the station itself before I could deploy the centrifuge, but obviously that wouldn't be needed, because technically the docked spacecraft they came in is now considered part of the space station, at least in the eyes of the game. So all a bit redundant anyway. Anyway, oh, this is a big old module. So this looks like we're just... So this is the kind of like quad junction. So 2 of these hatches won't work because they'll lead into the fuel tank areas. So let's see if I can select the one that doesn't go to the fuel tanks. Or because one of them will go to the logistics modules that are attached to the solar arrays. And yes, we've selected the right one. So this is like a core module. Technically, this is considered one of the command pods of the space station. So there's that gravity ring over there. I don't know, it's really... Gravity ring, maybe not the right word, like gravity triad type thing. There's the module directly across from us is identical to the one that we're currently in, so I won't bother doing that. That's the way we came from, so going forward, we'll go this way. We'll open up this hatch here. Wait for it to very slowly open. Open up this one, and then we should be... So this should be the centrifuge area here. So we have 9 Kerbals on board. So hopefully we have 9 little individual crew cabins for them. See how cozy is that? Come on, guys, that's so cozy. So I'm guessing these are all kind of the same. Although that being said, wait, where's our hydroponics module actually? Have we gone through that and I just missed it? Oh well. Well, I might have to do quickly speed back to look at our hydroponics module. So it looks like all those rooms are the same. We've got a little kitchenette area just here, as well as a GYM and a door to space. there any fire extinguishers on board? Fire extinguishers is really fun with free IVA. Oh, yes, there we are. Fire extinguishers can be used. There we are. So we can rocket our way through the ship a bit faster. Can we open the water closet door? No, it doesn't look like we can. So we have more living quarters here. So easily enough for not just our 9 base crew, but also any kind of guests. Yeah, friends and family want to visit them. Not quite sure how logistically that would work, but if they wanted to, they can. And then, haha, here we are in the centrifuge. So let's just go straight ahead and try this door first. So I've actually never seen the IVA of this piece before. I've never used it before in Kerbal Space Program. So this is exciting. Let's just use the fire extinguisher to get a little bit of acceleration just there. Oh, I've fallen. I can't get up. Well, let's just go down. Let's just descend. We'll go from outside to inside, right? So, oh, look at that little holiday brochure for Lathe. That's a really cool mod, by the way. Those pieces there. That's the, I forgot the name of it actually. It's planetary surface mod or something. So we've got more living quarters. So I guess this will be the primary living quarters because obviously, you know, you're being subjected to gravity here. So, you know, better, right, than the 0G living quarters that we saw before. Now this is, why is it so difficult? Here we go. So we've got another little kitchenette area by the looks of things. Come on. Let's use the fire extinguisher to Iron Man our way up. And then where's the next? So frame rate's not great. Maybe I shouldn't have done this live commentary so I could speed the footage up so it's a bit more like close to 60 FPS. For viewer enjoyment, whatever. What was it? Over an hour at this point in this video. You guys are in it for the long run, right? And then, how much fuel does this thing have? Is it unlimited fuel, the fire extinguishers? Hopefully we won't have to find out the hard way. Come on. There we go. What does that say? Oh, gym. Well, that's officially the gym then in that case. And then we will ascend the ladder. Just here. And try and get back to the core of the centrifuge. Let's go for this one here. Why not? It's here. I'm kind of hoping they're all the same, so I'm going to do that same awkward tour all 3 times. Let's have a look. Nope, washroom down here. Oh, mess room maybe it said, because that doesn't look like a washroom, does it? Let's just continue going down. So we're at the bottom. This looks like... Oh, it's so difficult. Come on, gravity. Right, then we'll go down to the bottom. So we've got... Okay, that's like the crew quarters we've already seen before. We've got like a little table, little kitchenette type area. Well, there's our orange tanks. Looks like they're kind of spinning, doesn't it? But obviously it's us that are spinning, not them. Wow. Picking up this fire extinguisher was actually quite a good idea. I just did it because it was like entertaining. Well, that was the flying visit for the mess room. Was that it? Oh, no, wardroom. So it was neither a washroom nor a mess room. But, yeah, whatever. Right, and then whoop. Then... Oh my gosh, I'm trying to get my bearings. Where's there? Aha! This is the arm that we've not yet been to yet. Great phrasing there, not yet been to yet. Probably shouldn't draw attention to my verbal typos, should I? People might not even notice. So then this is like some kind of storage area, maybe. So we've got some plants growing. Ah, so this is definitely different once again. So we've got like this is like a sort of science lab type arm, doesn't it? So, gosh, it's so awkward. Here we go. People like scream, like say, like, "Oh, it's so obvious, bad. How are you this bad?" And I empathize because when I was watching the live commentary I did for the space shuttle build, and I was really struggling to do the orientation of the landing gear, I was like, "How can you not see that it's clearly the wrong way around?" But trying to do live commentary is really stressful because you're like having to think about trying to be talking and trying to be charismatic and also trying to play the game at the same time. And I was not a mod I'm that familiar with, so yeah, please be gentle with me, guys, in the comments. This looks like some sort of server rack system. This is, I guess, where their Minecraft server is kept. And then we'll go whoop, up once again. Then we got our little plant growth area. So we've got some cherry tomatoes just here. Some bonsai trees. That's the side of the kitchen. And then we will ascend and then we'll finally be able to get free of this awfully awkward gravity ring tour. Again, I'm not really sure if gravity ring is necessarily the correct word here because it's not exactly ring shaped. It's more just 3 blocks in a triangle. Right. So I think we're going this way. Yes, I think we are. Let's Iron Man our way up. Because we still have to do the little tour of the hydroponics area as well, don't we? Because I just forgot about that. So then we're going to go open the hatch. And this should be the cupola module at the top. because every space station needs a cupola. There we are. I'll tell you what, we'll enter the seat here. And do we have any cables to transfer directly to the hydroponics module? There we go. Gene oh, they're already put. Oh, it's supposed to be our 2 engineers must be on board. So here we are. This is the hydroponics module here. So, and if I remember correctly, there should be a hatch that will let us actually access the hydroponics area. Although perhaps I'm misremembering, because I don't see any means of accessing the hydroponics. What's this? Go EVA. That's it. So we're all that. Maybe I'm just misremembering. But if anyone wants to tell me I'm being an idiot in the comments and there's actually a way to access, I could have sworn there was a way of accessing this little like interior space, but actually looking at it, it doesn't look like there is. Anyway, there's the little cross-sectional view of the space station just there. And I'll leave you with this little shot here. There we are. Doesn't that just look beautiful? So, yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you so much to Incogni for sponsoring once again. Incogni have been a massive supporter of this channel for many years now. So grateful they continue to support me here. And yeah, of course, big thanks again as well to the names on the right-hand side of the screen. They are my Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members. Thank you so much eternally if your name is listed on the right-hand side there. Really, really, I'm grateful from the bottom of my heart. And also, this is super late to say this, but you'll have an ad-free version of this video to watch yourself. There'll be a link to that in the description if you didn't find that on your own. But yeah, that's kind of the end of this video. So once again, I hope you all enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one.